Well, good afternoon here in Santiago, Chile, and good evening in you somewhere in Europe. Welcome, Mr. Uh, Stephen Richard Hackett, ex-Genesis member, along
Yes,
with some other great bands, GTR, Squacket, and so much. Thank you so very much, Steve, for the chance to meet again. We met a few times here in Santiago. You've been here in Chile
yes.
playing. Yeah, it's been a delight to have you here. So welcome.
Nice. Thank you. Nice to talk again. Thank you,
Yeah.
Christian.
Uh-huh. Um, uh, I remember I wanted to thank you especially, Steve, for the amazing set you made at the Teatro Coliseo in Santiago, Chile in 2024 when you came to with Genetics. And
Yes.
I didn't know, I wasn't aware you would start with a solo set that took me to some of my favorite pieces in your discography, Spectrum Mornings, which I really love, and well,
Yes.
the first album. So thank you for that because I was really moved, and it was like a dream, really. I hope that you come back. I understand that you're coming back with Genetics sometime or going on tour sometime.
Yes. I keep, people seem to know about this, and the news is not officially out there, but everyone seems to know about it. So I can't say, blah, 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 exactly. But yeah, it looks like that's going to happen.
Uh-huh, I wish so. Um, well, there's something that everybody is wondering about, and we are so happy to see you, going from one tour to the other.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some magic you have. The inspiration is, I suppose, comes from your travels, from your family, and
Yeah.
you have an ending, unstoppable energy to go on touring and touring. So that's so good for
I
the
must be
people.
crazy. There we go. I
Uh,
must be crazy, but I'm still mad about it. I still have the same response to it that I did at one time. The idea of it's a privilege to be able to do it. You have to think in terms of that. Yeah, the enthusiasm for it never really goes away.
Yeah, we can see that, we can hear that, and live it. It's been spectacular. Well, in Latin America, here in Chile, we haven't had the chance to witness all these amazing encounters and tours, but yeah, you're the one that's keeping the flame alive from, you know, a fantastic era of music. And I don't know, how does it feel to be the only, as far as I know, active touring ex-Genesis member?
Well, I think the other guys come out to play sometimes,
Yeah.
but I'm always concentrated on new music. I mean, for live, um, I'm honoring the past, but every day I'm thinking about new music. I mean, I've been recording with Jonas Reingold for the past few days,
Yeah.
and some of the new stuff that we've done sounds absolutely extraordinary. Um, it's thrilling for me to work with a caliber of musician like Jonas. And Jonas has done a very fine album with Car Mechanic, which is basically his project. It's a band name, and he presents that. He also does that live. It's very, very good. I think he's a very accomplished bass player, a demon player, but also a very good writer. And this makes a difference, I think. Not all musicians can write. I've worked with some very good people. Not all of them can write. Um, I know that, I sometimes talk to Pete Townsend, and he says, you can either write a good song or you can't. That's really it. That's how he sees it, defining musicians. So you could say that virtuosos abound. They are everywhere. There are lots of fine players in the world, killer players, but writers have a different perspective on their instrument. They are seeing it incorporated within a whole where a song is presented. The jazz player and the classical player, of course, intently involved in the complexity of what they do. The player who is in rock but is also a writer has always got his ears open for every genre. Personally, I get a big thrill out of hearing music from the 1500s, the 1600s, the Baroque era, the early music, the Romantic period.
The Renaissance. The Renaissance is fantastic too.
All of that, and and then of course you have modern classical music.
Yeah.
When it was, some of it was still tonal and related to the past, and to want to have a connection with that. And there were others who tore up the rule book and invested entirely in atonal, all of that. Thrilling moments can come out of all of it. But for me, music that's inclusive and music that has contrasts and music that is full of surprises, energy, honesty. I'm quite capable of writing romantic music, but I'm currently working on a new rock album, which I think is probably the best I've ever done, with collaborations with people. It's very interesting. There are musicians from all over the world on it already, and it's only just started. So that to me is very interesting. Where it goes next.
You just said rock album.
Yes, I did.
So you make it? Did you make a difference with the previous ones? Maybe there were some love songs, some songs, and not so heavy sounding. Maybe.
Oh, there are some things that are love songs, but there's also some things with social comment. There's also stuff that I think is influenced by all things industrial, and I've just been working on a new track with Jonas where it's extraordinary. It has all the changes and quirkiness of prog stuff, but then it also has some of the energy of dance music too, and what's modern. So we've absorbed modern technology as well as on the same album there will be stuff that features traditional instruments, and I think those sort of gothic moments in a way. I want an album to be everything. It's a bit like Mahler. He said the thing about symphony. He said the symphony should be the whole world. Of course, for Mahler's period, he wouldn't have been dealing with the technology of now. At that time, you were dealing with either you were using real musicians or you had mechanical instruments, mechanical organs, and they also brought something to music, perhaps the forerunner of the modern sequencer. And but all periods of music are equally interesting to me. I could play you things I've been working on at the moment, which sound like the influence is spread over 200 years, I would say.
Yeah. You said there are some dance-oriented tracks. Are you a good dancer, by the way?
I'm a terrible dancer, but I won a dance competition when I was about 12 years old. When I was in those days, I did gymnastics and all sorts of stuff.
Look at that.
Now, of course, it's a different story. So the fingers are the things that dance still, and the imagination, I think, dance with that contrasts. Anyway, this new track with, when I say dance, I mean, we were using a little bit of the influence of the way that's driven. First of all, he put down a very complex and driving bass part, and then put drums to that, and then we were playing melodies over that, over the chord sequence and what have you, and then things got added, and gradually we went through stuff that you would find percussion patterns and pulses and all this kind of stuff to drive it yet further, but they come in and out the whole time. So you have the men and the machines really working together. It's no longer a traditional approach.
I'm not a musician, you know. So how do those two different energies mix and generate something different? I don't know.
Well,
what. Yeah.
I've been working with Steve. I think you mean Steve Rothery, perhaps.
Yes.
There are two people in Marillion.
Steve Rothery.
Yes. They are a very interesting band. At the moment, I've been working with on and off with Steve Rothery and with Riccardo Romano, who is from Rome. So he's been handling the technological side of it, whilst we have been mainly jamming and responding and what have you. So I'm hoping that'll be ready soon. Mm-hmm. I should be working with them again in January if they've got all their parts sorted out. So this is interesting. I've also worked with Riccardo on some solo stuff. So I've been working with Roger, who's done a little bit on the new album. I've also been working with Riccardo and also with Jonas Reingold. So there have been different people who've been at the helm in terms of driving the technology, but they all bring something different to the mix, and this is very, very interesting to me. It's already very, very exciting. It features all sorts of things, and including some, or certainly the influence of some Baroque music, as well as rock music, and as I say, it's a big span of musical influence over a long period of time. So just recently, I was working with an Albinoni thing for oboe and putting guitar on it and doing all of that. So we have, as I say, Albinoni is born a few years before Bach, but it's that period of the 1600s, the Venetian school of approach that includes Vivaldi, who was a big influence on Bach, of course, and Bach is still an influence on all of us.
Everyone, yes.
Yes, on all musicians.
Did you ever consider, Steve, going classical? Well, things happen in 2 seconds, in 2 days. Maybe you make decisions in life.
Yes.
You've been playing and recording classical pieces.
Yes.
But did you ever consider going that direction?
What you mean, giving up a rock career and doing?
Oh yeah, yes.
Well, I've done albums of.
Yes.
I did an album called Tribute, which had 6 pieces of Bach on it. Very complex, difficult, but beautiful stuff that was originally written for violin and cello. Mm-hmm. We have 2 more strings with the guitar, so it fits very well on the guitar. I worked on an album with my brother called Sketches of Satie, and that was music from the Impressionist period, Eric Satie, and my brother and I were both fans of the Eric Satie music. So there are 2 arguably classical albums there. I worked with some stuff by other composers. It was William Byrd, early English 1500s Tudor period. there was also Augustin Barrios, Argentinian, and several other composers. But Enrique Granados.
Yeah. No, I thought that maybe you, instead of going the rock way, would have liked to study it back in when you were younger.
Yes.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been, yeah.
It could have been a direction, but I think that there's the beauty of that work, I think, is in recording it perfectly. When you record it perfectly, it's very satisfying. But I think playing it live, in this body of work, there's everything to lose and nothing to gain, because I think it's so easy. Either you train your entire life to be able to go in absolutely cold. When I was 15, I think I had a choice to make. And I decided that I was going to follow the path of being a rock and roller who was occasionally influenced by classical. And that became more of a commitment as I continued, because my first instrument was harmonica. And then I became interested in blues, just like so many people. I spent my young life playing tunes on the harmonica and chromatic harmonica. I've never really explored that fully since, but I've occasionally done a blues work, which has been pretty thrilling, I have to say.
I think you've mentioned the Paul Blues Butterflies band, which I'm a big fan of.
Yes,
I discovered
Paul
them. Yeah.
Paul Butterfield, absolute killer harmonica player who managed to sound perhaps more like a trumpet than a harmonica player, and perhaps more like a guitarist. There are people, even musicians, who've listened to Paul Butterfield and have said, I would assume that was guitar, but it's, he had complete mastery of this little tiny instrument to make it sound limitless in terms of tone. Fabulous tone, fabulous amplified tone, and also as an acoustic player, he was a visionary and a hero to me, who should have achieved fame, I think, internationally, more well known in America in a certain period. But he did tour England and Europe. I have some German stuff that he did. I saw him in 1966 when I was 16, wow. And the band had Mike Bloomfield in, and also Elvin Bishop, and they were all great instrumentalists on the night that I saw them. They were all great soloists. So you had a band with 3 soloists. On that night, they were absolutely on fire. And my head was full of blues at that time. But even then, it was heading towards something more inclusive. Mike Bloomfield came up with a piece called East West, and that became the title of their second album. And East West has something that sounds like it has Mexican influences, it sounds like, and Indian influences, and jazz, and it's something truly experimental.
It is
fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, about this energy you're talking about, how does I suppose going from one hemisphere to the other, from Asia to South America, I'm sure that energy that's generated in the audience by the band, and then it's like a boomerang. I'm sure that it does put the band on fire many times all the time. So how do the audiences change from one place to the other?
I've been touring for a long time now, so I think what tends to happen is that it's people that I've played to or that I've met in various places. I've been to Rome, for instance, a lot of times now, and I look forward to going back. Lots of friends there, so I don't separate out my social life and my professional life. It's all mixed. I've tried to be very available to people in as much as you can, because there are professional considerations, and also we have to do what's realistic. If I arrive somewhere, sometimes people say, "Oh, please come to dinner," and then there might be 5,000 requests, and people might not understand. They think that
yes,
I'm the only friend he's got, just, and then the rude awakening is that you're a public person,
yeah,
and that all happened by accident, because I was just interested in the music originally, and the notion of travel was all in the imagination, just in terms of the exotica of music. Quite by chance, I ended up.
But you've always been so kind.
Traveling the world. Yes.
Sure, but you've always been so kind, and you take your time to speak to your fans, and you have friends, and as you say, you mix social and professional life, which is very positive. And I'm sure, yeah. Now, I was going to ask you, Steve, about this almost segue of live records. Well, all fans are very happy, I myself included. Do you always work with the same production team for live stage sound recording, lighting, photography? And how involved are you in the final decision for what's to be used on the records?
Well, I think when I'm making a studio album, what happens is I'm involved as much as anyone can be.
Yes.
When it comes to live work, mixing a live album, very often I have found that there's a number of projects. There will be a studio album and a live album, and they will be competing for precedence. And very often the live one has to go off somewhere else, to somebody else, off to Ben Fenner, or off to Roger King, or off to Chris Lord-Alge, who mixed the last two rock albums, the last two live rock albums, the one from Brighton and the one from the Royal Albert Hall, the most recent one. They all bring something different to it. Sometimes I've had to send something to Stephen Wilson to do a surround sound mix of something. And then whilst I'm involved with something else musically, I can't be everywhere at once. There's only one of me, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the. I would like to be everywhere at once, but the reality is, of course, that you can only be in one place at a time. In this dimension that we inhabit.
Yes. Now you have been able, Steve, to form amazingly tight groups of talented performers. And how much do changes in the lineup affect the sound? I think there will be a coming change. With fans and followers and producers have been checking other interviews, and you've been talking about some eventual changes in the lineup of the band.
Yes. That's right. Well, that's going on. I've had to be very flexible about certain things, and again, it's like some things are official and some things are unofficial, and my publicist or publicists get really annoyed if I let out something that they should put out, officially. But we've had a lot of changes of drummer this year. So just this year, I've been working with 3 different drummers. I've been working with Craig Blundell. I've been working with Felix Lerman, who's German, and I will be working with Nick DiVigilio again in America. We have an American tour coming up. So he'll be the drummer at that time.
Nick used to be with Tears for Fears back in the 90s and in Dragon, several bands. He's a session player, I guess.
He's
Very good.
Nick Virgilio has played with Genesis as well, and Big Train. He's involved with that.
Too.
So that's very interesting, all of that. And he's a very, very fine drummer, yes. And all the guys that I've worked with have all been incredible in their own way. So I've been absolutely thrilled in recent years to work with extraordinary rhythm sections. As I say, I worked with Nick Beggs, and before that, I did some stuff with Chris Squire. 10 years ago, we did an album called Squack It. Sure. And he played on some things of mine. I played on some things of his. And he asked me to join Yes. And I said, well, I would, but I'm supposed to be doing Genesis Revisited. I've made commitments to this to try and honor the early Genesis work. But I was very flattered to be asked about, joining Yes. Mm-hmm. And of course, I've worked with a lot of the people from Yes, and I've worked with a lot of the people from King Crimson, various incarnations of those bands. So I'm quite familiar with the genre of surprises that we refer to latterly as progressive.
But it mustn't be easy at all to be able to play a live set and a changing live set, because you've been changing from tour to tour for these new comers, so to speak, Nick Virgilio and all the people, yes. Drummers. Yeah, It must be something really a big responsibility. So it shows that they must be extremely talented people.
Yeah, well, I think one when you think about live gigs, on one level, you would say you go on tour. The element of risk is paramount.
Is there, yes.
But the desire to want to connect with people is stronger than the fear of anything that might get in the way of it. I mean, nobody knows these days the uncertainty in world events. The world is politically extremely unstable. The technology of now seems to have promoted more instability as well as capability. But we live with that, and we humans are not designed to be immortal. It's a brief span, the human condition. I believe that there's a spiritual dimension, at least one. It's the great cosmic mystery, but I believe that consciousness continues, and that consciousness is not merely local, that it's not merely here. I've had too much personal evidence and the evidence of others that's been verified in terms of where consciousness operates within the body, but also outside the body. The spiritual aspect is what also drives quite a lot of the music that I do. I think, I tend to think of, certain instruments as spiritual, and some of them more earthy.
Some of them could, the guitar, I suppose, to begin with.
Yes, well, guitar can be both. It can be very earthy. Of course, the difference is huge between one power chord and the delicacy of playing a Bach,
yes,
gavotte. Yes.
Yeah. Now, talking about technology, I, as a teacher, I see that there's something so positive, but I can see it, maybe you too see it as some kind of menace.
Yes.
I've found amazing interpretations of Supper's Ready on YouTube, like a fox dressed in red, but done with artificial intelligence. And there's also a full Pink Floyd album
Right.
And that has become a little bit dangerous and tricky. So do you think that
Yes.
artificial intelligence might contribute in a positive way to music, maybe live shows or
Well,
something?
it was a very interesting thing today. Jonas, we were playing back one thing that we worked on today, and he had a program of an artificial intelligence automatic mastering aspect. And so automatic mastering would maybe make some things brighter that need to be brighter and rein in certain things. But we actually decided that it sounded better without the artificial intelligence. But then there was another piece that I've worked on recently where I felt that it could be brighter. And I wanted to see, I said to him, can we play this back through the same program and see what it does? Because I would like to brighten this. And it worked wonders. It brightened the whole thing. Normally, one would have spent time doing multi-band compression and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But as a very quick, instant fix, it shows you in sketch form, perhaps, what can be done. And it can be, drastically different. So I was very, very impressed with this. It struck me as being very, very interesting, the whole thing.
Yeah. And they've been using it also, artificial intelligence, to rescue, so to speak, to improve very complicated recordings like the Beatles at Shea Stadium, where there was only
Yes.
screaming. And
Yes.
I was wondering, Steve, we sometimes see these live shows in your touring from the
Yes.
late 70s and
Yes.
early 80s that are almost lost. Have you considered releasing some visual material from the past?
Visual.
Yeah, like video shows, the tours that they are very scarce. There was some,
Well,
yeah.
it depends what you mean. Now, with the Genesis stuff, obviously, I cannot.
No, your solo
Solo
tours.
stuff. Well, there's quite a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of YouTube.
Yes.
In terms of films, the one thing that AI cannot do is it can't fix mistakes, as far as I'm aware, unless you're gonna. Perhaps there's a program where someone will say, actually, it can fix the mistakes because it can analyze what the original parts were supposed to be and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And can it do that? And can it fix all the vocals that might be out of tune as well? And at some point, perhaps yes, but at this stage, I don't want to rely. What I try and do is I want to exact quality control over everything I do. I don't want to give people an inferior product. So we released 2 live things in quick succession recently. One was called Live Magic from Trading Boundaries, which is basically an acoustic album. That's live. And there's live at the Royal Albert Hall, which is the Lamb stands up live at the Royal Albert Hall.
Yes.
But you can see how the quality control was exacted. The acoustic one was recorded over quite a long period and choosing the best performances from various things.
I was thinking of the late 70s when you were touring Spectrum Mornings, and
Yes.
I know Please Don't Touch was a little bit complicated to tour,
Yes.
but then and the Defector.
I started touring, and I don't know if there are films around of that. There's a Music Laden show where we were playing material from that, and from we were playing all sorts of stuff and rearrangements of things as well. So we did stuff from Please Don't Touch. I think we were preempting Spectral Mornings because 2 tracks were already being played live. I believe it was Clocks and Spectral Mornings title track. So there is that. That was in Germany. I'm trying to remember what year we did it. It might be 79, 78, 79, that sort of period anyway. So that exists. And it's always nice to see yourself on screen looking young.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever else, the voice of experience, or or songs of experience, of course, can improve the audio, but nothing can improve the generosity of time.
That's a subtle way to say
looking
it.
back, looking back, the binoculars of time, where you look back and you see a boy that has become a man now, and there's no two ways about it. But that's it. We're lucky to still be here. I'm saying goodbye to friends all the time, and the young blades, all of whom friends of mine were brilliant musicians. They were young, they were handsome, they were creative, they were friends of mine. I loved them dearly, and I hope that there's a spiritual dimension where they'll be able to operate at absolute peak. There's an incredible band in heaven, at least one, of these incredible guys, and perhaps it might be possible, without being an annoying fan, to be able to let people know truly what the emotion that they conveyed to me. But we got to work with each other. That was good.
Now, I don't know if we mind taking you back a little back in time, like in 1982. You possibly remember what happened in 1982, the WOMAD show where you joined the band, the band, called Genesis, I think, and you were there for the encore. Yes. Do you have any impressions, any special memories from those moments?
Oh, it was a wonderful moment. To be on stage again with everybody, where everybody had done such great work, both as a band and as individuals. I felt that all those people on stage were incredibly strong. And as soon as I heard there was going to be some kind of reformation, I immediately got on a plane, flew 3,000 miles to be part of it. So I perhaps would have been involved in more of it. But at the end of the day, to just be on stage with everybody. And it was very moving for me, because I was on the stage and I'm so proud of everybody. And when they announced me, I got this huge roar from the crowd, and it was emotionally overwhelming. So afterwards, what was amazing was that the band, everybody was hugging each other. There was a lot of love, whatever the differences were, all the sort of, the English stiff upper lip and the aspect of competition. That was all gone, and we all got completely smashed after the gig, and I couldn't stand up properly. They carried me out, I think. But you know what? It was so overwhelming, I think, for the audience as well. Unfortunately, it was raining like crazy, and it didn't stop. It was the Genesis curse, is that whenever Genesis played outside, the rain came down. It was always the case. Every Genesis thing. I've played outside many times. A few things have been rained off, but in the main, weather's been okay.
Could be the tears from heaven. Yeah.
Oh, yes, a very good title, indeed.
Yeah. Now, did you have the chance to attend any of those the final Genesis presentations before they split up?
Well, you see, what happened was my tour was booked already, and so they kept booking their tours at the same time as mine. So I couldn't do that. I was I would have gone. If I hadn't been touring, I would have gone. There was also the problem of COVID, where you know, as it happened, I caught COVID when I was on tour. That was inevitable, but what the hell, you know? That was then. This is now. I had it for about a week, and then I got better. Well, that was fine.
I'm sure you still keep in touch with some of the guys.
Yeah, I saw Tony and I saw Peter, and we agreed to get together, and I'll be seeing them again in a few weeks.
Excellent.
To talk about and to enjoy the Lamb new mix,
the Atmos.
of the Atmos stuff. Yeah. So whether that's going to be all in private or whether it's going to be
documented
and with media, I do not know. All I know is that I'm there to sanction it, to honor it, give it priority. But live, of course, I'm playing 9 tracks from the Lamb, so I'm celebrating it, keeping the flame, as you say, or keeping the legacy alive for that work, which was so well received back in the day that John Lennon started saying nice things about the band. He said we were one of the bands that he was listening to. And then in another interview, he said in 1973, about this time, he said he considered us to be true sons of the Beatles. So that's the best review that Genesis ever had from one of our peers, one of our, you know, he was 10 years older than...
And a short review, very simple, but very strong.
Well,
yes.
That's it. So if anyone complains about early Genesis, I say, well, I'm sorry, but, you know...
I don't see how...
Maybe you should reconsider. So that work, I think he used to get the Genesis albums sent over to him in New York to listen to. I believe it's from Nursery Crime onwards, which is the time when Phil Collins and I joined the band. Yes. So I'm very proud of that. I'm always very proud when I hear that we were an influence or that we were listened to by other people. And when I met Brian May of Queen, he said he liked the track Musical Box, and he said it influenced him. And I will admit that I'm hugely influenced by the work that he's done and the band that he was involved with. So if bands listen to each other, and Eddie Van Halen as well, who was an incredible player, who said I'd influenced him with tapping and all this stuff. So, you know, I'm amazed. When I see other people, I go, shit, you know, look at that level of dexterity. But then someone else will say, well, you know, here we are. It's who knows where it goes from here? We don't really know. And I think that the subtext of music is to re-energize people, to heal them, to bring them together. And we need it more and more in a decoupling world where politics is failing. But I think musicians are the ambassadors of peace. As long as we're allowed and we're let into countries before the world decides to adopt a completely xenophobic attitude unilaterally, I front a band that is a United Nations. We have people in the band from several different countries, and I work with people from all over the world. So at this point, I've worked with people from South America. I've worked with people, from all, you know, the countries in South America, not just one, Brazil, Argentinian, and people from Azerbaijan, from Tajikistan, from Armenia, from so many European countries, from Hungary, from Sweden, certainly, from Italy now, and the list goes on. So if that makes me unfashionable, because I'm not a nationalist,
No.
How,
Yeah, I'm sure
I want music to be inclusive.
it is.
The subtext is to heal, and there's a lot of
Exactly.
healing that needs to be
Yes.
done at the moment. So, is all this, peace? One hopes, and one deplores the state of the world that just seems to be
Yes. You surely have.
decoupling.
It is. Now you surely found some peace, some healing, maybe writing the autobiography.
Yes,
I haven't had the chance to read it. I'm honest, but I hope I will. So I'm sure many people
thank
are
you.
enjoying that. Yeah. Uh,
Well, yes, I wrote it a while back, and I found it quite interesting. Every time I wrote something, I thought it was pretty good, and then I would read it back, and then I thought it could be better. It could be better. So I did a lot of rewriting. This is what writers say. They said there's no such thing as writing when you're writing a book. There is only rewriting, and so it always has to be better. If you're lucky, you can be like Jack Kerouac and write it in 3 weeks, maybe, or indeed C.S. Lewis, who apparently used to write longhand the stories of Narnia with very few corrections. But there are people who can write perfect prose. But the rest of us,
yeah.
we mere mortals, have to work at it.
Maybe you're observing those singles I was lucky to find at the Phonogram or Philips warehouse many years ago. And then you just mentioned Narnia, which I love, from Please Don't
Yes,
Touch. And
thank you.
what an amazing song in the
Ah,
memory of Richie Havens.
oh my God. Well, Richie was wonderful, and
Yeah,
what a force,
yeah,
just incredible. Yes,
yeah.
yeah. I
No,
think that he's, in a way, I don't know if you know Paul Weller of the Jam originally.
I
Paul
do.
Weller's, he's just re-recorded a a a um a, a song that Richie Havens did on an album called The Well, and I believe it's the first track. Um, it's very, very beautiful, and he's recorded it with the same tuning on the guitar. And I didn't realize that Paul was a fan of Richie Havens, but I recognized it immediately, and I thought, oh wow, this is extraordinary, to validate songwriters that you've loved.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now, I before we leave the topic,
yeah,
I'm not sure if you've ever taken requests in concerts, but mine, I'm taking
yes,
yeah, my beloved tracks would be songs that I airplay. I was lucky to be able to airplay those heavily here in Santiago on radio back
yeah,
in the 90s. Some of them are Narnia. We were talking about Narnia and How Can I, Icarus Ascending, which is absolutely breathtaking.
yes,
Hoping Love Will Last.
yes.
Wonderful
They're
song.
all from
Yeah,
Please Don't Touch. Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Maybe Amanda. I was thinking of Amanda Lehman being able to sing
yes.
"Hoping Love Will Last." That would be really amazing. Have you ever considered any of these songs?
I have played, out of all of them, I've played Narnia live, with
Okay.
my early band. I believe
Ah,
there's a
yes.
version of that on the Music Garden show, I believe. Um, Icarus Ascending, I've done in recent years again
Really?
with Nad Sylvan. I know
Oh,
that it's a favorite track of his. He likes it very much.
yes.
Um, it's a very kind of philosophical song.
It is.
Um, Hoping Love Will Last, I've never attempted it because I felt that Randy Crawford did the definitive vocal performance in that way, where it came across like soft soul in a
Exactly.
way.
Yes. Yes.
And it divides people. Some people love it. The Genesis guys liked it very much, and they complimented me on it after I'd done it. And this is after I left the band. And but there are others, who say, oh, I really don't like that stuff. But then you see, listening to singers and their interpretations of songs is purely subjective. And the man in the street, unfortunately for singers, the man in the street, everyone or the woman is an expert, and they will all tell you what's a good singer and what's a bad singer.
Yeah.
And what they won't take on board is the fact that you are born with the instrument that makes the sound of your own voice. But you can love singers that sound hugely different. You know, I like the way Bob Dylan sings. I like him in all his incarnations, with all his voices, whether it was the early voice or the Nashville voice, the lay
voice. Fantastic, yes.
And the voice of experience, where it's plainly a blues man that's got a ripped sound, but he goes out there and he works like hell touring. You know, he's still paying dues and threatening his own life all the time. But hey,
I was wondering, Steve, when and how did you and Nat Silva met? And I suppose that there were many other candidates before he was chosen. He's been doing a great job. Yes.
Yes, he's been doing a great job. I'm trying to remember what year it was exactly and how long we've been doing it. You know, it's quite some time now. When I was thinking about finding a singer to do Genesis Revisited Live, it was Winfried Vogtlein, German promoter, who said to me, you should check out, you know, the way Nad performs on stage. And he pointed at a live performance, and I thought it was very good. And I also heard a version of Chamber of 32 Doors that he was doing with Nick DiVigilio. And I thought it sounded right, and he agreed to come to London and work on a couple of things, and then we played the Isle of Wight festival with him just coming on for one tune, which was Wash of the Skies, right at the end. And I felt that he was charismatic live, very flamboyant. And I felt that he was the natural successor, if you like, to, if that's possible, to, you know, Peter Gabriel. The natural successor was Phil Collins. The natural successor, as far as I'm concerned, is Nad, who does a great version of being three singers that we've mentioned: Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, and also having done a really extraordinary version of Richie Havens. There was one night we were doing Icarus Ascending, and I swear that I heard Richie Havens' voice coming out of a white, tall, blonde Scandinavian.
It's special. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. You know, something happened, and I thought, my God, you know, he has that voice. And if I said to him, make it deeper, he does, you know. And Richie had that extraordinary depth to his voice. I had hoped that he would get signed to Charisma Records, but you know, Tony Stratton Smith had second thoughts. But he could have signed up Queen. He could have signed up Cockney Rebel. He could have signed up Richie Havens, but instead he signed up Genesis. So one extraordinary decision of taking a chance.
Change history,
or taking a chance on a bunch of young guys who didn't always know what was best for themselves.
Now, Steve, you seem to have, now that we're coming to a close, I might be wrong. Do you seem to have some, I think, for animals? You have whales. or do you have wolves? Well, I know both albums have
Yes,
nothing to do, but maybe you do.
yes. Well, I think uh, when I was a child, I was afraid of dogs
Mm.
because I think a lot of children are if you don't grow up with a dog, you know. And so over time, I learned that you could befriend dogs. You know, they really need us humans. You know, I could tell you a story. One night I was in Los Angeles in a hotel, and there was a storm raging outside, and there was a dog running in and out of the traffic. This was Sunset Strip, and it was on a curve, and someone was going to get hurt. Either the dog was going to get run over, or it was freaked out by the lightning, the storm, the rain, and I thought someone's got to do something about this. But there was nobody else, so I thought, what do you do with the dog? This dog looked maybe more like a wolf. It seemed to have this, large dog. You got to get over your fear. So I thought, what do? You crouch down, let it smell you. I called him over. He came to me. I let him smell me, and then I stroked him. And I thought, what the hell do I do? And I took him into the hotel where I was staying. And I thought they're going to say, oh, buddy, you can't bring this dog in here. Instead of which, there was a young guy on reception. And I said, the dog was just running about. There was going to be an accident, everything. And he said, that's a real shame. You know, a nice dog like that. I might just take him home with me.
Oh, yeah.
A moving story. When you take fear out of the equation, you can befriend anything. Now, I'm not a hugely brave person, but I remember one day feeding a grape to a little lizard, a gecko.
A lizard.
Yes, a little thing. And he came right up to me and he took it in his hands instead of thinking I could squash him, kill him, whatever,
Sure. Yeah.
Fear was out of the equation. There was an exchange.
Well, they know.
They know.
They know. Yes.
Another time it was a lion cub, and I got to play with that. It was still incredibly powerful, even though it was little, and that was a beautiful moment. And then the wolves. Joe and I, we went into an enclosure. There were 11 wolves, and the guy who raised them said, "We are, it's like being the alpha male." And straight away, they brought the wolf cubs to me so I could play with them, and the mother realized that I was just delighted to play with her babies. And we went off and we did a day of filming with these wolves, and they were
great.
There was an affectionate moment when I tried to help the mother wolf. She was on a wall, and I thought she's going to fall off, and I put my hand up to try and steady her, and she started licking me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get quite emotional thinking of these moments, and I've never befriended a whale. I've seen one in the distance.
Maybe you will.
Maybe one day I saw dolphins. It was in Mexico, and that was wonderful. And you hear them come up by the boat, and when they go down, they sound just like humans taking a breath. They go down, and you just, you right then and there, you realize that we're brothers.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yes, there's so much work. Yeah, we can learn so much from them. Well, Steve, I see a long list of touring for the next year. I mean,
oh yes,
great, Great Lamb highlights solo Italian tour, solo North America tour, Cruise to the Edge 2026. And really, you don't surprise me anymore. You have Trading Boundaries Europe voyage in July. Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope you're coming back to Chile one day. We really are going to be very glad to have you again. Yes.
I hope to be back really soon. I hope to be back in the coming year. Good chance.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the time. It's been an honor, a pleasure. We've been talking before, but thank you for the time. And now you're doing many interviews. So take good care. And my best to Joe.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Yeah.
Christian. I will pass that on. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And hopefully we'll talk again sometime.
Please. Yeah. Let's
All the
do it.
best. All the
Yeah.
best.
Okay. To
Thank
you.
you.
Same to you. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you.